I'm going to present mode in my presentation here. So just for you guys out there, just know that I can't see you. I can't see your questions at the time. So if you do have something, just go ahead and use that chat, and I'll be kind of switching and navigating and Brian will man the chat. So going into present mode here with my Google presentation, and then we'll get rolling. So welcome to today's kind of mini session here. Our focus is still on feedback today, but today we're going to be talking about feedback in a classroom community. So we're really, the goal of this is to really think about faster, responsive communication and feedback for the benefit of all. So kind of more of a community of feedback versus one-to-one feedback. As always, we really thank you for your commitment. It is a commitment that you show up here every day. It's a commitment that you continue to create engaging and meaningful learning experiences for your students. And we appreciate your commitment, and we appreciate you, and we are thankful that you tune in each day. It's a valuable half an hour that you could be doing anything else. So we're glad that you are here with us. Okay, so when we talk about virtual learning and some of the things that our students are going through, and even our teachers are going through, is really that sense of loss because we've lost our community with our classroom. So today we're really going to be focusing on keeping that classroom community alive. Yesterday, Brian talked about synchronous and asynchronous kind of feedback and communication. Today what I'm going to be talking about is more asynchronous communication type and style. Asynchronous digital tools allow for students to keep that classroom conversations and connections going strong, but these tools are specifically designed so that students can participate in the conversation at their convenience. So it's not at the same time, it's not that everyone logs into your WebEx room at the same time and they're having a live conversation, but it does still keep that classroom community alive. It lets the students know, hey, there's a space where I can always go to get my announcements. There's a space that I can go to post my questions. There's a space that I can go to feel like I can connect with my peers. And so that space is really important, and it's really important for all of our learners right now, K through all the way through 12, to really still feel that sense of community and to still feel like they belong and to know I can go to my teacher here, or I can post this question to my learning community and I'm going to get feedback. So that's really the purpose of the session here today. Okay. So you might be thinking, yeah, okay, but why do our students really need this? Okay, so as I kind of have already been stating, students still need to feel that connectedness, right? Do they want to be able to connect with their teacher? They want to feel that they are a part of the classroom community, and that's really important. If they don't feel connected to you, if they don't feel connected to their peers, you're less likely for them to engage with the content that you're putting out there and the learning that you're putting out. Remember, just like you connect face-to-face with your students in the face-to-face environment and you build connections with them, it's really important that you're still doing that in that virtual space. Number two, you need a space to quickly and easily have questions answered, okay? So think of this as more of like a central communication hub, right? So we know that teachers are busy. If you're a secondary person, you have upwards of 150 to 180 students each day. That's a lot of students, and that's a lot of individual feedback if that's how you're communicating with each of those students. But if you had that classroom community kind of space set up, students can go to that space and post their questions or post, things for clarification and get responses from you sometimes, but also from their peers. And that's a really important kind of bridge to build there for our students, right? Saying like, hey guys, you know what? You can post in this community and you can get feedback from your peers or you can get feedback from other people. I'm not the only person who can help you get your questions answered or clarify points for you. And third, students need feedback from an authentic audience, even when they can't connect simultaneously. So, right, we all want our students to connect with us live because it's really great to see their faces and it's great to be able to have that face-to-face virtual communication. But we know that that's not really realistic for a lot of our students because there are different variables that we need to be considering when our students are learning from a virtual environment, right? So maybe their schedule is different at this time of the day. Maybe they're unable to get into those live meetings for whatever reason. They have duties at home, or they're not able to use the computer, or they can't connect to the Wi-Fi. So we know that there are barriers for our students, and we have to be thinking about those students, but still give them a place where they can get authentic feedback from the audience, even if it's not simultaneous, right? So when you're thinking about feedback, think that teacher feedback is important, but so is peer feedback, right? So we can use all of those different pieces to create a community of learners. Just gonna pause there, let you think about each one of those purposes and how you're working that into your virtual learning environment. All right. So, given the importance of having that classroom community kind of available for your students to become a part of, we've got specific tools already in our learning environment that we can leverage to accomplish these goals. So today, and like I already said when we first started, know that this is going to be just a very quick kind of cursory look at some of these tools and some of the features inside of these tools where you can use to launch a classroom community. But we'll be circling back around each one of these areas so that we can kind of get a more in-depth look and feel for each of these areas. So it's kind of going to probably feel a little bit fast and furious, but as always, feel free to reach out, ask questions in the chat field, and then also know that next week our learnings for the week are going to focus around individual tools. So we're learning about one thing at a time versus kind of a cursory look at different things. So today, the tools that we're going to be talking about, again, are already available to each of you in our approved learning environment. So in our self-service. So students have the ability to grab any one of these tools. There's no need to get anything else approved. There's no need to ask for us to review. There's no need to ask, can we create this account? Because these are resources that are already in our environment and are already set to go for you and for your students. So today when we're talking, we're going to take a little bit of a look at some Google tools. So you'll see there that we've got a Google Classroom icon, we've got a Jamboard icon, and also just a Google presentation icon. So I'm going to touch very quickly on how you could use each one of those tools to create your classroom community space for communication. Another tool that we're going to look at is Flipgrid. And Flipgrid can be easily integrated into your Google Classroom if you're using that. You can post from inside Flipgrid right to your Google Classroom. So it kind of naturally fits in there. The first set of tools that you're looking at, your Google tools, those are going to be tools that you're going to have the ability to connect with in a kind of like a verbal sense or a written sense. Right, so you're going to have the ability to connect through posting and through streams and through drawing or through collaborative slides and those types of things. So not really a face-to-face component. Whereas Flipgrid does have that face-to-face component where the students can record their face or they can record videos of their learning and whatever else you ask of them. And they have the ability to post videos there so that you are still getting that face-to-face kind of look and component. It's just not live. And then Blackboard, when we talk about Blackboard, we're going to be talking about tools that already exist inside of Blackboard that maybe aren't as widely known, or they're not tools that we focus on as often, but still some great tools that you can work into your Blackboard class. So a little bit of something for everyone, whether you're using Google Classroom kind of as your platform to launch your class lessons, or if you're using BB9 to launch that, your lessons there. So a little bit of something for everyone involved here. Brian, Wendy, I'm just going to take a second to pause. Anything you want to add in before we go on?
No, not for me.
Well, I guess the big piece I would say is it's about choosing what works for you in your environment and not having to get all of them. So it'll be a good overview today to see what's available to you.
All right. So
That's nice there.
I'm sorry, did I miss something?
Sorry, muting
No,
now.
no, that's okay. No worries, right? We are not in a professional streaming business here, so things come up. You might hear my dog snoring. I listen to it all day long. First thing to talk about here, and I will kind of just do a quick dive into each one of these areas, but just know that we'll be coming back here. So these are three very simple ideas where you can get started. And Wendy brought up a really good point. We are absolutely not expecting you to incorporate each one of these things. We're just giving you some options. So maybe choose one of the things and start there. Start small, and you can add other pieces in later, or you may never add in a certain piece of what I'm showing you here today, and that is okay. You have to choose what works for you and what's going to be sustainable for you in your classroom. So don't feel pressure to go tomorrow and integrate each one of these options into your virtual learning. That's not the goal here. The goal is to just give you some ideas of ways that you can incorporate that classroom community and build that classroom community for your students. So when we're talking about our Google tools, three of the most popular Google tools that we've kind of got available that kind of meet the needs for this area. First is your Google Classroom, right? If you're already using Google Classroom, this might be a natural place for you to get started. And I'm going to be talking about utilizing the stream feature in your Google Classroom, right? Your stream feature is like your communication hub. It's like your discussion board, and you have the ability there to be the only poster. You have the ability to let students post there, but you also have the ability to be the poster and have students be able to leave comments there. So I'll go through that. I'll show you kind of what that looks like. So that's one area where you might begin to build that classroom community. Another way that you can do this, and of course, if you are already using Google Classroom, you can build this kind of right into your Google Classroom. But is just to be using like Google Slides. So a lot of times people think, oh, Google Slides, yep, that's for presentation. That's what I use it for. But think about it as a collaborative tool where you can share out one slide to your class, assign a page for each student, and kind of design what you want that feedback, whether it's daily or 3 times a week, kind of to look like, and how you're going to utilize that in your class with your students. So I would say, you know what, guys, hey, we're going to do this Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I want you kind of coming in here and adding your thoughts, and it's kind of like a thoughtful like response. And then I'm going to have peers leave comments on there. So thinking about, yes, it's a classroom space. Everybody has their own page. But how are you using that to be able to connect students? So you might say, I'm going to have student who's on slide number 2 connect with student who's on slide number 4, or you can assign numbers, however you want to kind of organize that. But a very quick and easy way for you to give your students a place to communicate their learning. This one kind of requires you as the teacher to kind of go back in and take a look, but it also gives you the ability to take some of that pressure off of yourself and allow your students to become, those viewers and those commenters as well. At the end of the week, then you have a snapshot of learning for your entire class. So something that you can kind of organize this way. This is just a very quick setup and demo that I'll show you. It's not by any means the best template to use, but it's just something to give you an idea of how you might be able to use that in your classroom to create that classroom community and discussion. The third option that I've got here is Google Jamboard. And again, this is something that you can create right from your Google Suite. You can also post this right into your Google Classroom. You can post the board to your entire class. You can post the board to individual students. The example that I'm going to be showing you here today is a board that we've used for professional learning that I created. And I wanted in one space because we were using it as a way to assign students to each page, but then to have that kind of holistic view of the thinking and the thought process from the class. So just another way that you can get all of your students into one area and utilize tools that they are already familiar with. Okay. So I'm going to go right into Google Classroom now. So I'm going to be exiting the presentation mode here. So hopefully don't lose my screen. So your Google Classroom, I talk about, I need to take a picture, I think I just did. So there's that, so awesome. Okay, so your Google Classroom, we're talking about using your stream feed here. Oh, that's Google Classroom telling me that I can now connect, right? Set up meetings with my students, but we don't use Google Meet, we use WebEx, so I'm going to just ignore that. So here's one of my classes, right? When I talk about the Classwork tab or the stream, you have your tabs up here, and that is your navigation. So you've got the stream, you've got the Classwork. This is where you're actually assigning and pushing things out to your students, your people tab, and then your grades tab. Specifically today, the only place that I'm even going to talk about or show you is just going to be this stream tab, right? So this is a really easy place if you're saying to your kids, hey, this is where I'm always going to post things for you. So whether it's a link to your WebEx room, whether it's a link to a specific resource, or it's a link to anything that you want to use, you have the ability here to create a class comment. All right, so this is the tab that your students always will see first when they go to Google Classroom. So anything that you post here is going to be something that they will see. They have to actually go to the Classwork tab to get to their assignments, but the stream is the default that they see when they go to Google Classroom. So really easy here, and it does go in kind of chronological order. So the posts that were posted first they go down to the bottom, and the new ones are always on the top. So you can go ahead and you can see, so like I had this here, I posted this to my students, and this is just a demo class. So it's me, the teacher, responding to me, the student. So I know not really super engaging, but just kind of gives you a look of how that might work for your students. So here was something that I posted. Hello students, this will be where I post important announcements for our class. Please make sure that you're checking the stream daily so that we can connect, make sure that we're all on the same page. So as the teacher, I might use this as a place to put a prompt each day, just to check in with kids and to see, hey, do you have questions? Know that you can post questions here, and have the ability then to have myself see those posts, but then also have students see those posts. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on the class comments here. So you can see that as the teacher, I posted here, but then also I have these class comments that are coming in. So this is from me again, but then here is the response for the student. So it does create a thread when you have things coming in. So your students are able to come in here and they are able to leave posts and comments. You have the ability as the teacher to come in and to decide how that stream can be used. So I have some people who say, you know what, I just want this to be a place where I post, and you have the ability to come in here and to do that. So here's, when you go to settings, here's the stream area. And right now I have it to set to students can only comment. What that means is I'm able to have a little bit more control on how this stream is used. So I can allow students to make posts if I want to, but right now I'm kind of controlling it by saying, here's what I want you to respond to, and now you can comment to that. So a little bit different on our approach. You have the ability here to say students can post. I caution that unless you've got really strong relationships built with your students and you've really had those discussions about online etiquette and what's proper to post in an online forum or not. But sometimes you get kids and they're not doing it to misbehave. They do it because, oh, wow, I want to connect with my peers, and look, I can do that right here. So that's an area for them. If you wanted to allow that to be wide open, you could press, students can post and comment. So that's going to allow them to post anything, like even just a, hey guys, how you doing kind of thing, or I watched this show on Netflix last night kind of thing, and that might not be how you want the space to be used. Most people, I recommend go with students can only comment. Again, that allows a teacher to kind of control that environment, but still giving students that area to put feedback and questions. Other students can come in there and you can see their questions if you're answering that. So you can answer the question once instead of having to post it multiple times to individual students. And then you've got kind of the most restrictive here, only teachers can post and comment. If you're looking to create a classroom community, probably not the best option because you're not getting that communication both ways. You're only getting communication out as opposed to getting it out, but then also receiving it from your students. But those are the options that you have there. Again, I tend to like to use the students can only comment because, again, that allows your teacher to kind of set the pace for things. You can decide how often you want to be able to do that, and you can decide what you want your students kind of thinking and responding to. So that's the stream in Google Classroom. Again, just a real quick look at that. The second thing I'm going to show you here is just a Google Slides, right? So if I were using this, I could send it out to my students in Google Classroom and just make it so that everyone in the classroom can edit. This is something, again, where you have to set up those expectations and you have to say to students, hey, you know what, each of you has a slide and you're going to be responsible for that slide. You're not allowed to go onto somebody else's slide and do anything to their slide. What's nice about Google presentation is that you do have that revision history. So you can track down if a student would go to another student's slide and, you know, move something or delete something or change something. You have the ability to see who did what when. So you do have that kind of assurance there. But this is just a really simple sample. If you're looking to start somewhere, here's something that you could use. So a weekly class check-in. And essentially what you do is you set up one slide per each student, right? And instead of it saying student name, you would put the student's name right on that slide so they know, oh, I only have to go to my slide, right? So probably more efficient if you're starting with younger kids to use this kind of an example. And just saying, hey, 3 times a week, I want you to come in here and I just want a brief reflection. Any thoughts or questions you might have, that's what I'm looking for. And then again, you have the ability to kind of say, I'm going to take this down this pathway and I'm going to say, hey, student number 1, you are responding with your student number 3, and you might have certain partners set up in your class, but you can establish that. So you can kind of create a 2-lane traffic there in terms of commenting. And to come in here, they would just use the commenting feature to be able to highlight something and then leave a comment here. So they might say, oh, on your Friday post, and I'm going to go ahead and say add a comment. Friday post, I had the same question, and here's what I found. And they can leave this comment to that person. All right, so just a very simple way that you are able to come in there and to start creating that classroom community. Again, at the week's end, what you have is a week full of reflection from each of your students, a checkpoint for you to briefly scroll through the slides and to say, oh, this student on Wednesday, this was the lesson they were working on, and so here's maybe a place where I need to come back in. So you could really use that as a checkpoint as often as you want it or need it. So if it's a daily checkpoint, or you check in on Tuesdays and Thursdays because students respond on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So just a way for you to be able to go ahead and get in there and start communicating with your students and having that communication be a place to go. The next thing that I'm going to show you here very quickly is Jamboard. I'm not going to talk about how to use Jamboard. I'm just going to give you an example of how we've set this up in the past, right? So this is an example of a Jamboard, and this was a group that was meeting for a common purpose. And so we shared the one Jamboard. Oops. That wasn't what I wanted to do, so now it's going to take a second to load. But anyway, we shared the one Jamboard with everybody who was in this group. Then each person in the group had their own slide. So this is the one I want you to look at. And the topic here really isn't important. What's more important is that you'll be able to see how each student was able to come in and add their unique perspective. So here's Jamboard. So this was the beginning. And so I kind of set this up like, here's what we're learning. Here's the learning that we're doing for today. And then here's some of the lesson that I was sharing with the students, right? And then here's your guide for change. And then each person who was in this group, right, had a specific slide. So I put their name on the slides, and they were able to come in and they were able to add in the information requested from them. So if I slide through here, each student kind of personalized things and added their own content in. right? So some have more than others, but it was a really easy way for us to organize our thinking and to see what it was in area and how they were coming in and being able to respond to the learning that we were presenting. So here is the slide here was just the template, and I was able just to make a copy for each student or copy the template, and then I knew how many students that I had, so I was able then to just go in and put their name on it. So just another way that you're able to build that classroom community in Jamboard. I also have the ability here to come in and personalize it for the students or the group. You can let them draw. You can let them kind of leave pictures. This is just one sample, but you could really make your template look however you wanted it to look. There, just briefly, Brian, Wendy, anything you want to add about any of those three things?
No, I think I put this in the chat as well, but just remembering that pick one tool or a couple of tools and then using them in a diverse set of ways. So we talked about using Jamboard comments yesterday as tools you use in a synchronous setting. Now Kristin's showing how you can use them asynchronously, not with your kids at the same time, to build community. So pick a couple and then get really, really good at those.
And I would say understand that you are going to have to teach students how to use that. We had questions yesterday about how do students see comments when they're in their iPads and things like that. So whatever tool it is, know that you are going to coach them in that practice to get started.
Yeah, and what I found really helpful with that is to request to have a student account. So if I'm creating something on my end of things as the teacher and I'm using my Mac to create it, I can log in and see what it looks like in my student account. So and go through the process. So it does benefit. It is a benefit to have that ability. All right, moving on. So Flipgrid. Okay, so Flipgrid is a place, it's a little bit different. Like I said, you have the ability here to record in Flipgrid, so you're getting that face-to-face connection. What Flipgrid is really great at is it gives students a place where they can describe what they've learned. It gives them the opportunity to explain what they're learning or what they're feeling and connecting to other people's experiences. It gives them a place to be able to ask for clarification and indicate, this is something that I'm struggling with, or I need help or resources here. It allows them to use their voice versus just using words to connect their ideas and their learning with others. It allows for a lot more creation because there are several features inside of Flipgrid that students can use. Whiteboarding feature, they can use an emoji feature to create images and pictures. They can insert things from their camera roll. So there are a lot of possibilities in Flipgrid to be creative. You can upload documents. They can upload videos that they've created. So lots of different options. And it allows for them to connect with their class in a kind of face-to-face like setting, right? I can look at my grid and I can see, oh, there's my friend Annie. I want to listen to what she's having to say. And it allows them to kind of get in there and still have that live feel, but at their convenience. So I'm just going to bring you in here real quickly so you can kind of see what different grids can look like. So Flipgrid is a platform where we're able to create grids. Grids are kind of like your main class. So you can have as many grids as you want. Okay, so grids again are like a class, and then I can come in here, and here's a practice grid that I've got here. Inside the grid, now I can have as many topics as I like. So I could have a topic here, that's our weekly check-in. I'm just gonna go in here, and as the teacher, I can see who posted. Here was the prompt. Hey gang, we're a few weeks into virtual learning. Please respond honestly to the following areas. What's one part of virtual learning that's going well? What's an area of virtual learning that you're struggling with? And give one piece of advice for your classmates. Tell us one good thing about your day. So you can customize that weekly check-in to be whatever you want it to be. And you can see that student Kristin, now she's on top of things, right? She's come in here and she has responded. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on that. So I can see what student Kristin has said. one of the big things here to think about, sometimes I hear secondary people say, you know what, my students don't want to show their face. They don't want to show their face, but they don't have to. So my screensaver there was a picture of my dog sleeping. And here I've created and responded to the post that my teacher left for me, and added things and some features, some words, some images, some drawings, and my voice, but I didn't have to reveal my face. So if that's, you know, something that you're hearing from students, I want to record my face, you have an option there for them to use this in a different way, but to still get that feedback or that communication that you're looking for. I don't know if it's gonna, you can hear it.
I'm not hearing that audio at all, Kristin, just see.
Okay. All right, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm just talking through each of the points there. I'm guessing that it's an issue with the fact that I'm already recording my screen, maybe. I'm not quite sure why you're not hearing that, but it is my voice going through the topics that are on there and responding to what my teacher asked. So in the real world, right, so then what you have is the ability for other students to come in here, and they have the ability to leave video feedback for this person. They have the ability to star it if they think, you know what, this is a really useful post, or I got really valuable information here. So they have the ability to come in and to really give kind of more feedback. So they can leave video feedback, they can leave comments and feedback that way. And what's really nice about Flipgrid is that as you're building that classroom community, as the teacher, you have the ability to moderate how you want students to be able to interact with this here. So I'm going to show you, this was just a sample. I'm going to show you a grid that I do not own, but I am a part of, just so you can see kind of how some students are able to come in here and share things in a different way. So this is a team over at one of my elementary schools, and they are sharing weekly check-ins and kind of doing those types of things. But they also have the ability to come in here and share things that they're going through. So how it really looks, and I won't click on the individual student samples, but you can kind of see. So here was the prompt that they were working on, and here's how each of the students come in and their responses come in. So you can see very quickly, oh, here are student responses to this problem. And what was cool about this is that the students were demonstrating a math problem. So rather than them doing 5 problems on a worksheet, they did 1, and they did it in this format so that they could record their thinking on screen and post it. And so the teacher could see very quickly where there were issues or where there were points of confusion, but also other students could be able to see like, oh, okay, I didn't understand that part, now I get it. So they're able to use that feedback to kind of go in there and learn from other people. They're connecting with others. So this is my best friend Chase. I don't get to see him every day anymore, but I want to hear his voice. So you have that ability to kind of go in there and to view each of the students. So when you post, I'll just come back here. When you post, I'll go into my grid again and just show you the process of the post. When you create a new post, you just add a new topic here. It can be anything that you want. But here's where you get to customize how much time length you want to give to students for their response. If it's just a brief check-in, you can say, you know what, you get 45 seconds to kind of tell me how things are going. I don't want to have 10 minutes of you recording something. But if it's something longer, you might want the ability to come in and to extend that time limit there. So just think about that when you're setting it up. Here's where you would post your prompt. And then here down below is where you can add additional resources if you'd like to. And then you create the topic. And it tells you, hey, your topic's ready, all set. And then it just shows up in your feed. So new topic is on the top. All right. Again, as the teacher, you have the ability to come in here, and you have the ability in your actions here to edit your grid. And here is where you get to decide, here's how I want my students to be able to interact with this grid. Okay, so you have the ability to here and say, oh, I want students to be able to post, or I want to moderate the post so that I don't want them to show up on the stream until I've seen the video or previewed. So you get to decide how you want to leverage that with your students. All right, I know that we're over here on time, so I'm going to skip to our next area. Again, if you're interested in learning more in depth about any of these different tools, we are extending those learnings next week. So Flipgrid will be an area that I'll be talking about next week because there's a lot there and a lot of really great things and ways that you can leverage Flipgrid in your classroom, whether it's a kindergarten classroom through senior level classroom. So lots of different things and ways that you can connect there, and lots of prompts already made. So really good things there. Last year, we're going to just talk briefly about our Blackboard option. Okay, so Blackboard is our learning management system for the district. We probably have a lot more secondary people diving into Blackboard, but some of the features that are kind of a little bit underused would be our blogs and our discussion boards. So this is already built into our Blackboard classes. A blog is an area where you can allow participants to post entries on a particular topic. Blogs can be either individual or they can be a shared class blog. The way that it works, chronological order, newest entries pile up on top, and group blogs can be commented on, and they can be viewed and edited by all the group members. The blogging in Blackboard is kind of an area where it might be a little bit less structured, right? So we might say, hey class, here's what we're covering today. If you've got any questions, you can kind of come in and you can kind of open up that blogging forum. It's more of a conversational style versus a specific targeted topic style. Could you use the blog in a specific targeted way? Definitely, but the nature of blogging is kind of more conversational rather than targeted to a specific unit or specific targeted area. And then the other feature that we've got is the discussion board feature. Discussion boards, it's a lot like a blog, but the discussion boards are a little bit different in that you post and reply to messages, and then those replies that are associated with one of the message kind of stream together and create threads. In each of the different discussion board topics, those threads kind of clump together so you can read all of the threads on one topic together. Topics typically in a discussion board are generated by the teacher. So again, the teacher has the ability to really command kind of what they want here for our students and really target it to a specific element of learning. And definitely I think the discussion boards are used in a more structured environment. For the sake of time here, I'm just going to jump in and show you in my Blackboard class what that kind of looks like. And how your blogs can be added either to your navigation here on the side of your screen, but also embedded into kind of like your unit as well. I went ahead and I added in blogs. I have a blog tab here for easy navigation, and students in this class can get to. It's frozen here. Let's see if I can refresh. Students in this class are able to go to the blog tab, and they could see the blogging topics that I've got here. Same thing with a discussion board, and it looks very similar. Okay, so you can see the difference in a blog. Posting here is an individual blog or a class blog. I can come in here and say, okay, daily questions. What does that look like? And here on the blog, I'll be able to, if there were more people in my class, I'd be able to go through and using the arrow, I could go to each student's blog post versus the discussion board, where on the discussion board, you kind of get to see, oh, there's unread posts on this topic, and you kind of get to see what that looks like. So let's see if I can go and show you. So that's using the general navigation on the side here. Inside of a unit, it looks a little bit different, right? It's because it has its own icon. So when you add an item or a folder, you get the icon. Same thing when you add a blog, okay, or a discussion board. You can come in here and add that right into that unit or the lesson, and you can see that it adds a little, it's a little paper with a tack there holding it up. So just for fun, so I can come in here and say, oh, okay, just for fun. What do I do for fun? And I have the ability to come in and respond. Let's take a look at that student preview mode. So welcome to class. That's not where I want to be. I want to be in that post. I'm just using the navigation. And here's what it looks like. Going to the daily question. So I have that posted. Students can come in here and they can post, right? So I can say, do you have daily questions? So that's going to be my daily questions blog. My students can post there. Other students can respond to them if that's the way that I set it up. Whereas the discussion board is a little bit different. I can come in here and go to the test space. Should be able to click on it. Found. Let me see if I can pull up the other space where I have a better sample.
While Kristin is looking for that, I just want to throw this idea at you. So both of those tools, each has kind of their own strengths. What I would recommend for you is to think about whether you're going to use this one or that one, but maybe not both at the onset, right? So picking one of the two and saying, I'm going to really focus in on the discussion boards and work on building that in my space as the community builder piece of it. And the cool thing about both of those tools, blogs or discussion boards, it can be, as Kristin was referencing, they can be used really specifically for academic purposes and then also be used for the community tools. So picking one tool, using it a couple of different ways. Kristin, did you find what you were looking for?
Yes. Thank you. Maybe not. It's okay. Should be listed. Let's see, discussion board. Yeah. All right. So here, let's go into first. An example of discussion board here. So topic of the day. And so I built this out here for our participation. Identify one thing you've been successful with. How do you know? Identify what you're struggling with in the virtual environment. Why? Give a piece of advice to your peers, a positive thing in your life right now. So if I click on that, I'm able to come in and I can see, oh, there is a thread here. I have the ability to click in and see what others are responding. So it kind of brings all of those different responses into one area that I'm able to access. So I can see what people have replied, and I can look in here and I can see the different ways that I could reply. Here's a little bit more formal, answering the specific questions. This student here didn't go as in depth, but still accomplished that. So I have the ability now as a student to be looking just in that thread. And then I can come back in and I can say, oh, okay, here's what Jimmy John said, and here's how they took that to understand. And here's what my next peer said, and what can I learn from that? Or are we asking the same questions? And on the teacher side, you're able to use this as well. Say, oh, a lot of students had this question. That might be an area for me to go back to and to reteach in our next live session or in just a really quick video session. Brian, anything you want to add? Now that we're going over on time here.
I would just say very quickly that either one of those, the discussion board or the blog, can be placed inside a content area and really allow students to support each other with their topic, or it can be much more general to your class as a whole. I wouldn't start Blackboard just for a discussion board or blog if it's not something you're currently using to deliver content, but if it is your content delivery area, they can really support you in keeping that community building going on right where you're already having your students get their content.
Right, that's the key. Is that, no, that's okay. Just the idea that wherever the kids are, so even, when we think beyond the virtual learning environment we're in now, if Blackboard is the place where you're going to continue to teach and that's where your resources are, having them all be in one place and we build the community and we focus on those pieces in the same place where they're going and getting that academic content makes a lot of sense long term.
All right. So that is kind of just a very quick overview. I want to give time for individuals to ask questions, or Brian and Wendy, if there's anything you want to add. But just a very quick overview of tools that are already in our environment. We're already using Google. We're already using Google Classroom. A lot of teachers are already using Google Slides and using that Jamboard, using Blackboard. So tools that we already have, but just extensions to those tools and different ways that you can leverage and use them to create a classroom community space for your students. So I'm going to stop talking and just leave the floor open if there are any questions, or if guys you want to add anything. Now's your time. All right. So if there aren't any questions, we will post this recording a little bit later on today, so you can come back in and rewatch certain parts if you're interested. Tune in tomorrow, where Wendy will be talking a little bit more of some options in Blackboard. And I think, you know, as always, we thank you for your time and attention, and we thank you for joining us. And if you want to reach out to any one of us, we're more than willing to help you and get you started. Most importantly, what I just want to reiterate here is the ability for you to connect with your students and to build the classroom community. And that's really the important piece here. The tool that you use doesn't matter. It's the community that you're creating, and the tool gives you the avenue to be able to make that connection. So like Wendy said just a minute ago, if you're already using Blackboard, it might make sense to use one of those tools that's available to you in Blackboard. If you're already using Google Classroom, it's probably going to make more sense for you to use something that you can use very easily through Google Classroom. So you don't have to make it complicated. You don't have to make it, you know, 3 different ways that you're building classroom community, although you might want to do that. Just start with one of these ways and start to build that classroom community so your students know that they are still a part of your classroom, whether or not they're meeting with you face to face. Brian, Wendy, anything you want to add?
No, thank you. That was a very, very good coverage of that today. And thanks for joining us, everybody.
All right. All right, I'm going to stop recording. Thanks, everyone, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.